Hey everybody, happy December 1st here from Minnesota. I just wanted to share with you my archery hunt from November 18th of this year. As you can see, we've got a little bit different weather here today than we did on November 18th. I looked back and checked the weather that day and it was about 37 degrees. The wind was light and variable out of the southwest. No snow on the ground at that time. But today is a little bit different. Finally got our video camera back. Scott lost the charging cord, so I had to order a new one of those. So the footage I'm going to show you today is actually just from my Tacticam that I have on my bow here, mounted on my stabilizer mount. So it's a short clip. It's about 2 minutes long. And that's all I have here. I also have the selfie cam here, but I did not turn that on for my hunt. So I apologize. You guys do not get to see the hideous faces I was probably making as the buck stood out in front of me for what felt like forever. So I know I said in my Instagram stories I was going to do a quick rundown on my bow setup just for anybody that cares. Ladies, this one might be for you guys too if you're looking to change up your setup, but I'm going to make some changes after this season is done. I still have a doe tag to fill, so I will just do a quick rundown here. I'm shooting the 2017 Matthews Avail. It's actually a women's bow. I love it. I've killed a turkey with it, a couple deer now, and it shoots great. I just upped my draw weight this past year to 55 pounds, so I had to increase my limbs to the 60-pound limbs and maxed out the 50s. And then I'm shooting a 5-pin IQ bow sight. I'm getting used to it. I've only been shooting it for a little over a year now, but I love the IQ. Once you learn how to use it, that's the first thing I look at before I find my pin in my target. Make sure that's centered, because if your IQ is off, your shot's going to be off, either left, right, up, and down. So getting used to that. And then I'm shooting rage broadheads. I think they're the SC broadheads. Wanted to try the no collars this year, and Scott actually got to test them out earlier this year. He took a doe, but I haven't had a chance to try them yet, so I just bought a package, so hopefully I can test them out on a late season doe here coming up. But like I said, I'm running the Tacticam 5.0 on my stabilizer mount there. You literally just push a button, and like I said, the footage I'm going to show you is all from that Tacticam. So that's my bow setup. If you have any more questions on that, let me know in the videos that I post. Otherwise, let's do a quick rundown of the hunt. So it was Sunday, November 17th. Scott had called me after hunting. It was the slowest couple weekends I think I've ever had in the deer stand. I saw one doe Sunday morning, and I have a doe tag, so I was all for shooting this doe. It was windy. She came up from the ridge behind me, so I caught her at the last second, came to full draw, and she was on a mission. I couldn't get her to stop, and I didn't want to take a walking shot. So she actually kept going. My sister got a shot at her with a shotgun, and we ended up tracking her for probably at least a mile, never found her. So that was how gun season went. Like I mentioned a few times, you guys probably know, I've been bow hunting for the last 5 years with my bow during gun season, so in the hopes of tagging a buck during that time. So anyway, Sunday, November 17th, Scott called me after hunting and asked me, how the hunt went, and told him it was super slow. He asked me if I wanted to shoot a good buck, and I was like, well, yeah, give me the details. So he was combining a field they have, they rent, and they actually have permission to hunt it. So we snuck in there after dark. It was probably about 8:30, 9 o'clock, set up a ground blind, got it all brushed in, and then I was planning to hunt it the next day. Didn't go out that morning because I was kind of itching to sleep in, but I had the day off from work just specifically to hunt, so figured I'd better get out for the afternoon. So it was about 1:30. I got to my spot, started walking down the cornfield, and I'll show you in the video, I'm going to post a picture from Onyx. My cousin has the app, so you can see the little grass patch that I actually had to walk around to get to the blind. So I was about halfway down the field, hadn't got to that grass patch yet, seen whitetail go up, stopped, threw the binos up. Sure, it was the buck that I was after. So I didn't know what he looked like, but according to Scott, there was a good buck in the area, and I figured that was him. So I kind of crouched down, gave him a minute, stopped at the tree line, and then he went into the woods. Not too spooked, but he still knew I was there. So Called Scott and let him know I just jumped the buck to see if it was worth going to sit or not, and he said, yep, go sit, give it a try. So snuck into my blind. I actually hung a scent wick because it was not an ideal wind. I think it was coming out of the southwest. It was light, so not too strong. And then I got in the blind and had I think it was Tink's doe urine, so I just sprinkled a little bit kind of out my windows just to kind of cover any scent that I would have brought in. So, and then texted Scott, of course, because I'm all anxious that I jumped this buck already, assuming I had already blown the hunt, blown the afternoon, and I wasn't going to see this buck again. And he said, just chill. Literally, he said, just chill. And then he sent me a text message that said, when you shoot him, call me. Don't go track or anything. Literally, that's the message he sent. And I said, okay, don't get my hopes up. You know, I had no idea who this buck was, wasn't familiar with his behavior, nothing. So I was not optimistic at all about the rest of this hunt. So there I sat, and I didn't call. I thought about doing a little rattling, a little doe bleeding, but I just sat tight to see what was going to happen. And it was probably an hour and a half after I'd gotten to the blind. I could hear sticks and stuff breaking in the woods, but I couldn't see anything. And then hour and a half later, I see legs walking, and I grabbed my bow right away because I figured if it's a doe, maybe the buck's on her tail. And what do you know? Here comes the buck. So had my bow, I had it propped down in the blind because I was waiting for him to put his head down, feed, so I could pick my bow up. Turned my camera on. Surprised I remembered to turn it on. It's happened before where I forgot. Kind of got it at an angle where I could at least try and get some footage. If he didn't give me a shot, at least I got some good footage of him standing out there. He was probably, the tree line that he came out on was 25 yards, and he probably worked his way into about 20 or closer. Never ranged him. I knew he was top pin for distance, so I just sat there shaking, trying to calm myself down, and waited for him to give me a shot opportunity. He faced me, fed, calm, didn't look like he was looking for a doe or anything. He just came out to feed. So finally he turned, gave me a broadside shot, picked up my bow, and as soon as I drew, you'll hear that little screech in the video. I don't know if it was on my arrow rest or something, but I don't think he heard that, but he might have heard after I'd drawn. Turned, looked right at me in the blind, and I figured it's now or never. So I took my shot, watched my arrow go right behind the shoulder, and then he took off, ran down the tree line, and then I couldn't see him anymore. So I put my bow down, called Scott right away to tell him I shot this deer. And for those of you who are going to watch the video or watching it, if you have young kids, I advise not letting them watch after I set the bow down, because there's a little bit of swearing. It's my phone call with Scott, excitedly telling him I shot the deer, and I honestly could not believe it. So called Scott. He said, just grab your stuff, come back to the farm. As I'm like still talking, pretty much ignoring what he's saying because I was so excited to tell the story, and I couldn't believe what just happened. So got to tell my story, hung up the phone with Scott, immediately called my dad because I also told my dad I was hunting this deer, I jumped him, and he said good luck, maybe he'll come back out. So I called my dad. Sorry you didn't get to hear that phone call on the Tacticam, and then my dad was stoked for me, super excited, and he's like, well, I'll have to leave work early. I was like, Dad, you don't have to leave work early. But so he left, came right to the house, came back to the farm, showed Scott the Tacticam footage, and I didn't know it at first, but he was quartering to me a little bit, so I'll post a picture too of where my arrow went in, and it actually caught the shoulder a little bit, that skin right above, so it looks almost like there's two holes, but it's just one. Went right in behind the shoulder, caught one lung, liver, and then of course got a little bit of guts as the arrow worked when the deer ran away. So the shot actually was pretty good for the angle that I had. So we waited about 3 hours, and then my dad, Scott, my cousin Jake, we all went out and we tracked him, and it was good blood the whole way. It was easy tracking. We only lost him at the last spot, so we kind of spun around in a few circles. You'll see that in the Onyx map picture that I'm gonna share with you. And then my dad is a dead eye. It's crazy. He can spot the tiniest little speck, but he found last blood, and it was actually a good sized puddle of blood. So we walked maybe 25-30 yards, and my dad's probably 10 steps from the deer, and my cousin looks up and he goes, I see deer. He's laying there stone cold dead. He'd been dead for a while. So I jumped up and down, screeched, did my high fives, my hugs. It was the best moment I've had in the deer woods in a long time. I've been bow hunting since I was 16 years old. And the very first year I got my first bow, I shot a small 6-point buck, super happy about it. And I've been holding out for a good buck ever since with my bow. I've shot a couple nice ones with the shotgun, and I wasn't going to pick that gun back up until I was able to take a good one with my bow. So this deer made me so happy. And I mentioned in one of my Instagram posts that I first saw him come out, he turned a couple ways, and as I looked at him, I'm like, you know, maybe he's a 2.5-year-old, he could use another year. But like I said, I had no history with this deer. What are the chances I'm going to see him again? And I was literally crazy for having that thought, because this was a good buck, and I should have never had that thought. So super happy about that. Got to celebrate, and my cousin's actually going to do the taxidermy work on him. He's just starting out, so I figured I'd give him a practice shot at that, see how he does. And we'll have him on our wall to look back and reminisce for years to come. So hopefully you guys enjoy it. Here's a quick little Tacticam clip of my hunt. Thanks for following along with Drawn to Release, you guys. Shot him. I shot him. I shot him. God, I hope so. It looked like it went right in by the front shoulder. He came out at 25 yards. I'm fucking freaking out. Oh, I had to wait. I had to wait. I had to wait. He went to a broadside. He came right out on the trail. To the right, you know, those vertical windows. Yeah, he came out perfect. I mean, he's good. He's not huge, but he's a nice deer. God, I hope I smoked him. Damn it. Down the tree line to the CRP.
Just grab your stuff and walk nice and quiet back up to your vehicle, and we'll go look for him here in an hour or two, okay?
I'm freaking out. God, I hope I got him good.
Come back to the farm, you can ride with me and tell me all about it.
It's a bad wind, but he stopped and he was like facing me, and then he kept sticking his head in the air, and I was like, shit, he's gonna smell me, because I couldn't come to full draw. And then he turned like and faced that corner. I put a scent wick out. I think that helped me. And then I freaking put dope piss all in front of the blind. So he kind of was like putting his nose up, and then, God, I hope I got him right behind the front shoulder. His tail was down when he ran away, but I don't know. It didn't look like very good penetration. But God, I hope I got him.
Just come home.
God, We should go get.
You got him right behind his shoulder there?
It looks like it. I mean, I don't see my arrow. I don't see my arrow laying out here. I don't know.